Agenda 15 adds a lot more color to your notes. By changing the text color, adding highlights or even changing the background color of your notes, you can make them stand out much more. And we added support for block quotes and code syntax highlighting to make your notes even more your own. And to top it all off, we added support for a number of new iOS 16 features that I would also like to show you. So lots to show, here we go. In my previous video alongside Agenda 14, I had mentioned that we had done a lot of groundwork in the text editor. And so in Agenda 15, we could now add some of the most popular requested features. Let me show you. So new in Agenda 15 is the possibility to add color to your text. So let's start by coloring this piece of text and make it red. I go to the Format menu, choose Text Color and pick my color. I can also use the formatting popover and choose, for instance, green. I can also highlight text. I choose Format, Highlight and pick the accent color. Or I can simply use a shorthand Command exclamation mark. I can also pick different colors or even any color I like, but this is a premium feature in Agenda. If you want to find out more about the premium features of Agenda and how it works exactly, have a look at the Agenda community or one of my previous videos. I will leave a link to it in the description of this video. On iPhone and iPad, you'll find these options in the familiar bar above the keyboard. If I want to highlight this piece of text, I simply go to the Style palette, select Highlight and pick my color. There you go. Same thing for text color. I pick the one I like, or I can even pick my own color using the color picker. If I want my entire note to stand out, I can pick a color for the background of the note. If I click here next to the title, I can now choose to mark this note with a color and again pick from a set of predefined colors or pick my own. In this case, I'll pick brown. This allows you to color label your notes and make those that are important stand out more, for example, or give them an indication of their priority. It's up to you to define what every color means. Next, we added two additional paragraph styles. For instance, I can mark this piece of text as being a block quote, making it clear that it was a quote from someone. We've also added support for code syntax highlighting. For instance, in this programming log, I can indicate that this code snippet is written in the Swift language. It will then color the text accordingly. Again, Agenda has a predefined list of the most commonly used languages, but it supports a much longer list using the Markdown format, where you start typing with 3 backticks followed by the keyword for the language. You will find the entire list on the Agenda community. And again, I'll leave a link in the description of this video. If you paste text into Agenda, say for example from this Wikipedia page, you'll notice that Agenda is much better at preserving formatting like italic or bold text or color text. If you don't want this behavior, then use the Paste and Match Style command, which will leave the text in the current formatting and won't apply any of those that you paste. Finally, we added one more feature to make your notes look exactly the way you want them to be. If you go to the Agenda settings and select the Appearance tab, you can now choose which font Agenda uses to display your notes. For instance, if instead of Agenda's default font you prefer to use the system one, you can now do so. Or if you prefer a monospaced font like Courier or Menlo, that's an option as well. Or perhaps you prefer a font like Jill Sans, which is more fine, or something that's actually much more bolder like Futura. You can now pick the one you like most. So, a lot of new capabilities in the text editor of Agenda 15. I'm curious to hear which one you like most, because I know some of you have been asking for these for a long time. And yeah, that's true for many others as well. And I promise that Drew and I will continue to work on those in major updates to come. So, speaking about major updates, Apple also releases every year a new OS release for macOS, iPadOS and iOS. And they start with iOS 16. And we've added a number of new features that support those as well. So let me show you those. So we already had widgets in Agenda that you could place on the home screen. Like for instance here this relevant notes widget on the top. But in iOS 16 you can also place widgets on the lock screen. If I tap and hold the lock screen, it allows me to customize it. And if I tap the widget area and then go to Agenda, I can now add a widget that shows the most relevant node at any given time, or one of my favorite nodes that I can choose myself. In this case I'll pick my relevant node. When I now click Done and save it, my most relevant node is always shown on the lock screen. If I tap it, it will open straight away in Agenda. Next up is a feature called Focus Filters. If I go to the settings and then choose Focus, I can see a number of different focus modes that I can enable. If I click on the work focus and scroll down, I find a section called Focus Filters. If I add one, I find Agenda in the list of apps that are supported. I can now select the categories that are shown when this focus mode is active. For instance, if I'm working, I would like to only show the projects that are part of the work category. So I select that one. So now when I enable my work focus, you'll notice that the sidebar only shows the project in the work category. You'll also notice that down here in the sidebar there is a new icon to indicate that the focus mode is active. If I now want to go to one of the projects that is not shown, I can tap this button to temporarily disable the filter. If I tap it again, only my work projects are shown. And of course, if at the end of the day I'm turning off my work focus, all my projects are shown again. Finally, in this release we added the first so-called shortcuts for Agenda that you can access in the Shortcuts app. It allows you to further integrate Agenda with other apps on your device. To explain everything about the Agenda shortcuts and how the Shortcuts app works is probably something for a separate video. But if you want to learn more, the best thing you can do is to go to the Agenda community, which has a separate section all about automation and shortcuts. What's also good to know is that this is a work in progress. The shortcuts we've added make use of a new technology from Apple that has to still mature a bit, and there's still a limited set of options and shortcuts available. But we plan to further roll out and improve these shortcuts in the coming updates, and likewise we also expect Apple to add many more options down the road. Keep an eye on this area, and again have a look at the Agenda community where we'll keep you up to date and you'll find everything about the latest set of shortcuts that Agenda supports. So that's Agenda 15, available now from the app stores or our website, and be sure to give it a try. Now life might be complicated sometimes, and I don't mean for all the reasons that you might need an app like Agenda for. But I meant for us as developers, because we're also dependent on when Apple decides to release its yearly OS updates. And this year they decided to split iPadOS, iOS and macOS in 3 different stages. And you might have seen in the Agenda community that Drew has been working for a long time already on some really cool collaboration features that we originally wanted to include in Agenda 15. But unfortunately, that has to wait just a little bit longer until macOS 13 and iPadOS 16 are available. Now the good news is that it means that we'll be seeing each other again soon, in an update video in which I'll show you everything new in Agenda 16, including those collaboration features I mentioned. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, because hopefully it shouldn't take too long anymore. And in the meantime, be sure to give Agenda 15 a try, and as always, let us know what you think. Bye bye.